The H-1B visa is a very important visa in the United States that gives the ability for people in healthcare, engineering, as well as tech to work inside the country. Recently, it's come under scrutiny as the administration in America has changed some rules and made some new proclamations. Let's talk about it. I know that this will probably affect some people that will listen to this. It affects some people I know as well. So I thought we would have a little conversation about it. This is a visa for skilled workers, and usually it's so popular that they have a lottery system. So you need to enter this lottery to get a chance to get the H-1B. And sometimes there are corners that are cut in order to get the H-1B because there's such a high need for specifically skilled people. So the Associated Press said recently that the president of America, Donald Trump, has signed a proclamation adding a $100,000 fee to first-time petitions, but there was miscommunication. One of the people in his cabinet, in his immediate vicinity, said that it would be a yearly fee. A yearly fee of $100,000 would effectively mean an entire new salary of a highly paid person must be paid in order to just keep the visa for that person. That's so steep. It's not true, but it was said on public television and there was a lot of confusion. This caused many people in America who had a H-1B decide they wanted to leave, and they tried to leave the country in a big number, honestly. Yeah, and that was according to the Washington Post, that the language made it sound like it was an annual fee because it was said directly. The White House later clarified, according to Reuters, that it was a one-time only applies to new petitions, which is good. However, the original fee was around $1,500 or $1,500. So it is like 60 times more expensive suddenly, like with no legislation, just as a sudden change, right? The Commerce Secretary, Bernie Moreno, he was the one that said that the fee would discourage employers from undercutting U.S. workers. But the problem is this H-1B visa and the people who get it are often skilled workers in a specific field. Sometimes we don't have that many skilled workers in that field in America, or it's a specific type of tech or a specific type, like a battery, for example, that needs workers that are experienced. So there was some people that suggested that they would get H-1B H-1B visa to come to America and teach American engineers or healthcare workers how to do their job. But that was not in the best interest of the company, and it would still cost a huge amount of money for that H-1B person to come over and still have to teach Americans how to do the job that they don't know how to do. Let's see, according to The Verge, tech firms weren't waiting. Amazon, Google, and Microsoft all warned the H-1B employees abroad to fly back immediately or risk being locked out. And so some people were in their home country, let's say like Korea, and like a call went out for them to come back to America or potentially lose their visa. So there was a big scramble both ways, leaving the country and coming back into it. The impact is like a lot of workers, obviously we can't afford that kind of fee. One of my friends is trying to go to the US now. He's been trying since earlier this year, and the legislation keeps changing rapidly. So he actually got stuck after selling his house and moving to Seoul. So he's having to change his future because the way the legislation is changing so rapidly. So it affects people on a daily basis. It's pretty unfortunate. A lot of startups and hospitals are starting to struggle because if they don't have the big money to pay for this, then they can't maintain their business. And of course, the rule is, or the idea is, why don't you just hire locally? But again, that's not always an option. That's not always possible to hire when there's not someone in that specific field that knows how to do what the hospital or startup needs. There's language barrier problems too, as there's many issues. It's more complicated than just XYZ, right? So industry groups are warning, according to PBS, industry groups are warning that it will choke innovation and drive talent to other countries. And this is already starting. I just saw where some other countries are waiving some visa requirements to come to their countries in order to welcome people who are being kicked out or have a fear of being kicked out of America. And this is very unfortunate stuff. According to the Washington Post, some legal experts are saying that lawsuits are inevitable. And since the executive branch may be overreaching their power, which I'm not an expert on this is just what I'm seeing reported. The truth is maybe this is in flux. This is not certain yet. But there's a chance that it can be revoked or at least made into a better type of legislation later on. So we'll see. I'm not sure yet. So my advice would really be to, if you look up the USCIS and then the DHS also, you can get official updates very quickly. If you have an H-1B, don't travel riskily, like even if it's on vacation. Be careful because it can, the reach of the American government in the airports around the world can be quite high. So you can get stopped in other countries potentially because of this legislation. So just be careful if you have an H-1B. Immigration lawyers say that to prepare backup options, like getting an O-1 or a green card, if you can, that's a big thing to ask. Getting a green card can be quite difficult unless you get married or mostly get married. The process of becoming a US citizen, even getting a green card, can be, as you can see, even for H-1B visa holders, can be quite difficult. It requires a lot of documentation. It has a lot of background stuff and many things that American people themselves cannot do. So look into it, especially following those two places I mentioned. That's again the USCIS and the DHS. And we'll just keep an eye out for challenges in court. We'll probably hear some news in the next couple of days or weeks about how it's being challenged. And this is kind of a big deal. I don't know if it'll go to the Supreme Court, but we should still keep an eye out for how it's being challenged in the future. So this is another kind of legislation that came out of nowhere, seemingly nowhere, and seems to be targeting foreign workers that are skilled in some category. And it's a little bit disappointing because even though the administration ran it on its idea that they're trying to keep bad guys out, I saw one Korean worker who has gotten his H-1B visa many times before, but he was barred from entering because of the event that happened in Georgia. And he was so disappointed and discouraged because he felt like, I'm a skilled worker who's done this legally for a long time, and I've lived in America for a long time, and I feel like America is our ally as a South Korean, but they're being treated like an illegal immigrant, or even worse, like a criminal. And that must feel terrible. I know if that was in reverse and I was being treated that way here in Korea, I would be very disappointed and a little bit sad. So anyway, today's video is just to kind of tell you from my perspective and some news articles in a more digestible way. I hope this was interesting. If so, please like and subscribe. If you like this kind of news story, I will do so more in the future. Just let me know. And please sound off in the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me your stories. What have you heard that's happening? This is kind of touching close to home for me, and I wanted to just take a day to talk about it. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.